Each day I wake up and clock in. No one feeling the straight been locked in. I sold it some dimes, hope the smoke hustle. All Myles gon' shine off the damn hustle. It's the shit that's just like keep my mind right.
Yeah. What's going on, family, man? We in here. Boy, a day. Boy, a day and a half in the life of a Cleveland Browns fan, man. How we feeling? Myles Garret traded to the Rams. You get Verse, a first round pick in 27. You also get second round pick in 28. I think a fourth round in 29, something goofy like that. Also, you get Jared Verse. I don't know, man. I right now, and in this moment, I don't know how I'm feeling. To be honest with you, as a fan, I'm hurt. As someone that's a realist, I can see it through the fog. But at the end of the day, being a fan and someone that understands how this game works, you have to take into account that this trade doesn't go through without the cosign of Myles Garret. So you have to take into account, this goes back to Myles' mindset as far as how he was feeling before, 2 years ago when he first asked for the trade. Then you fast forward to now where he's upset. Jim Schwartz didn't get the position. Him and Jim Schwartz had a real relationship, and I believe they still do. So at this point here, it's obvious that, once Jim Schwartz didn't get the role as the head coach of the Browns, that caused a huge rift again between Myles and the franchise. So in essence, what that makes me think, man, is that this was in the works for a while. People that love Myles Garret and respect what he do and were fans of him as a player, I think, yeah, you could have been a little bit blinded. I think I was a little bit blinded to the fact of, man, AB has come out and said he's going to be a career Brown. We haven't really heard anything from Myles and his prior history in the sense of he does miss OTAs. But when you break it down and come to it, obviously my man was not happy, man. He wasn't happy. What that means for us moving forward, as far as Browns fans, you see the T. United as Browns. So at the end of the day, man, we're still Browns fans. We have to move forward. Am I hurt? Yeah, for sure. I didn't expect it. I was dead wrong in my analysis as far as looking at this situation. I knew for a fact in my mind that there's no way we're getting rid of Myles. Absolutely no way we're getting rid of Myles. But comes out today, Myles Garret traded. Got to say it 3 times so you know it's real. Myles Garret traded to the Rams for Jared Verse and a little assortment of picks. Let's go ahead and take a look at what was going on as far as what we got, what we get, all of that type of deal. When we look at this, man, you got a 3-time Pro Bowl edge, Myles Garret. This dude waived his no trade clause, which is what we just talked about. This trade doesn't go through without Myles saying, yes, this is where I want to go. This is something I'm co-signing. I would love to do this. Okay, so we get Jared Verse. Okay, we get a 2027 first-round pick. Now, let's go ahead and talk about this 2027 first-round pick for a second. Because this 2027 first-round pick, you think about it. The Rams last year were where? When they ended the season, where did they end the season at, folks? The Rams ended the season in the NFC Championship game. So, what that tells us is that the likelihood of them having a top 10 pick, top 15 pick in this upcoming season, especially with adding Myles Garret, is not likely. So that pick, you might as well classify that as a second-round pick or a late first round. You're not getting your hands on a QB. That pick right there in the picks that you're going to have, because you're not going to have a losing record where you're going to have a top 5 pick to take one of the top 5 quarterbacks. So what does that tell you? That tells you that at this point in time, that removes you still from the quarterback conversation as far as getting a top pick in this 27 class. You lose Myles Garret, you add Jared Verse. Now Jared Verse, he's a good player. And let's get that out of the way now. I want everybody to understand we're not going to sit here and try and demean Jared Verse by any means. That's not what we're going to do, especially not here on this platform. Jared Verse is a good player, great player, young player in his what, third year coming up. You know, he's shown a lot of flashes, shown some flashes of dominance. But at the end of the day, folks, he's not Myles Garret. Okay? Now, let's get back to talking about these picks. That first round pick in 27 does nothing for you as far as a quarterback conversation. A 28 second round pick, that's weak to me. 29 third round pick, that's weak to me as well. So, answer this question. Did they get fleeced for Myles Garret? Yes, you get a young player that's shown a lot of potential in Verse on his third year coming in. But does that give you enough to get over the hump? Does that give you enough to even replace Myles Garret? A first round pick in 27? Once again, you got to take into context the Rams picking position is going to be high. They're looking to have a good season. They're in win now mode. So with the Rams being in win now mode, think about it. NFC Championship last year, what does that do? That puts you picking later in the first round. You might have 2 or 3 first round picks, whatever you think you're going to have, they're all going to be later. So that Arch Manning conversation that people love to have, you're out of there. What are you going to do? Finesse and get rid of somebody else? They're talking about Denzel Ward being on the chopping block next. So all of this round table discussion brings us to this one point. We're in the middle of what seems to be a youth movement. Okay? With this being a youth movement, now you have to start looking at players like Denzel Ward. Man, what are they going to do with Denzel? Is he gone in the next couple days? Like, this is wild to me. We just got rid of a foundational piece. A foundational piece. This guy is a Pantheon great, automatic Hall of Famer the day he unties his cleats and says he's done. This doesn't even, I don't know. To me, like I said, I'm still caught in the shock phase. So I'm trying to process. And on one hand, as a fan, I'm hurt. On the other hand, I can see, through the fog, your mindset in doing it, because you are getting a young player in Verse that's shown a lot of flashes of being a good player, being a dominant player. He has the potential to do so. He still hasn't cracked double-digit sacks, though. That's one thing that bugs me. He still hasn't cracked double-digit sacks. All that to say, man, I don't know. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of these first reactions, man. Let's go ahead. 92.3 The Fan, courtesy of him. You like the move? You like the move? Me personally, I don't like the move. But at the same time, it's fresh. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on. I don't know. My opinion might change over the course of this.
Myles Garret traded. Myles Garret traded. It's all coming out right now. Dan, you got to help me with this. So Adam Schefter's got it first. Is that where we're going with this? I just want to make sure.
We're multiple.
Yeah, Adam Schefter reported it first. Miss D, honestly, I mean, you saying you like it? You weren't a huge Myles fan. Why weren't you a huge Myles fan? Back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year, sack record holder. That don't do nothing for you, Miss D? I mean, I get it. There's been a lot of talks about him being a leader and his leadership style. But at the same time, a lot of leaders, you don't necessarily have to be vocal. The most vocal person in the room, I mean, just think about it. When you outside, the loudest person talking ain't always the realest one. The person that shows up and does their work, that's also classified as being the leader. So I don't know. We gonna see, Miss D. You might change my opinion though. Let's go ahead and keep rolling though.
Pull reports on all these different things.
All the biggies. Ian Rappaport was the first one. That's all. Okay, I just want to make sure. All right, let's get to it. So Myles Garret traded. How about that? I think we all kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. Dan, give me all the details that we have on this thing right here, because I'm still looking.
So what we have now, according to Ian Rappaport, is Cleveland would send Garret to L.A. in exchange for Jared Verse.
The Rams, okay, yep.
To the Rams, sorry.
That's
to
okay.
the Rams for Jared Verse, a first-rounder, and more. That's what I have right now. I'll keep refreshing when we get the full trade. We will for sure get it to you.
Breaking Browns news. Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Honestly, man, going back to what Miss D is saying here, it's a youth movement, and the loyalty factor is a key. And we talked about that before. Myles was obviously hurt. I mean, this whole move tells you that Myles Garret was upset by Jim Schwartz not being there. It does, honestly.
So here we have it. Myles Garret to the LA Rams, Jared Verse, a first rounder, and more, according to reports. Jeff, the first thing I think of when I see this is something that you had said, that maybe if this is what the value is, it might be a little bit less than what we thought. I thought they would for sure get 2 first rounders.
They did.
We don't know what the more is.
They did.
With Verse?
Yes.
Okay.
2 years, 2 Pro Bowls.
I don't like that. I don't like that comparison in the thinking of, okay, you got 2 first rounders in saying that you got Verse. No. Verse is a separate asset. We wanted Verse, but now in the terms of picks, Myles Garret, how good he is, to me, that demands at minimum 2 first-round picks. Give me Verse and 2 first-round picks, and then I might feel a little bit better. You got to think, you giving us a first-round pick, but it's going to be basically a high-end second-round pick. An elite second-round pick is what it is.
Andy, 2 years, 2 Pro Bowls. And he'll turn 26 in November. And you get a number 1. They don't have to go out and find a defensive end. They just did. And you add a number 1 to that. That gives you extra ammo to go up and get your quarterback if you want to in 2027. And who knows what else might be coming back in the deal.
See, that's these guys' thing, is getting the quarterback in 27. That's their showcase. That's what this whole move, that's what the value in this move for them is. But as far as for the overall team and for the fan base, I don't know. Now, what I will say is, I do like the fact that you did get Verse in this. If you didn't get Verse in this trade, Cleveland would be flipping over right now. The fact that you do have Verse, who is a young player that showed a lot of potential, that does add a little bit of weight to the situation in terms of your return. Myles Garret is on his latter end of his career. Jared Verse is on his vertical, peak. So at this point right now, like I said, I'm seeing through the fog. But as Browns fans right now, we have to deal with the shock of losing our favorite player. Our franchise, the face of the franchise was been, he's been here since however long, through all the regimes, through the Odells, through the Jameis Winstons, through everything. So yeah, you as a fan, you have to deal with that first, but then now we have to kind of separate and see what's going on and see how we're going to move forward with this.
It might be if you get another third or something else, it gives you the opportunity. The thing I love about this, you've traded arguably the best defensive player in the game, but you don't have a hole at defensive end.
Yeah. Yes.
You don't have a hole. You just put him right there. Verse is a starter. Verse is a good starter. Real good.
What do you have, 7.5 sacks last year?
And he played outside linebacker for the Rams, was his officially listed position, but they run a 3-4. So what's Myles going to...
Now, that is a key point right there. A difference in defense. Because now when you have Verse out there in the 3-4, that means you only have 3 down linemen and 4 backers. Okay? So in a 4-3, which is what the Browns run, you're going to have extra help. An extra D tackle to your side, being able to take, whether that's the nose or the 3 technique, to your side, helping out a little bit. Whether that's Mason Graham, Malik Collins, and we've seen the impact that Malik Collins has been able to have when helping Myles Garret. So that's a fair point.
Doing a 3-4, is he going to play that outside linebacker spot and just line up on, it'd be the same type of thing Verse did. And will Verse become an even better pass rusher when he's playing in a 4-3
Fair
versus
point.
6'4", 265. He's not like he's a 6'1", 6'2" edge rusher. I mean, he's a big guy, 6'4", 265.
I mean, I'm not a measurables guy. I don't get hung up on measurables. So we'll get that, out of the way immediately. I don't get hung up on the measurables. Plus, one thing that does kill me about the Verse thing, he's shown a lot of potential and he's shown some flashes, but he hasn't cracked double-digit sacks. He is going into his third year. Once again, I'll keep reiterating that because that's a key point to me, because Myles is on the latter end of his career and Versus, like I said, on that vertical peak right now. He's on the rise as far as young stars in the league. But at this point right now, you have to take it for what it is and be thankful that you do have a defensive end that's a quality defensive end to fill the gap for right now. But the moves going forward, to me, we'll talk about something else, coming up. I'll save that.
Again, if you're just joining us, Myles Garret traded, according to reports, to the Los Angeles Rams for a first-round pick, Garret Verse, and we're hearing more. There will be more to it. Your immediate reaction, 216-474-0092. The Browns have traded what perhaps many people will say one of the, if not the best defensive player. I heard somebody this morning.
He is. Absolutely. Absolutely. He's the best player, best defensive player for sure. I mean, the only player in Browns history that you can compare Myles Garret to at this point in time is that guy, Jim Brown. Literally. So when you think about that, yeah, that's a lot to digest as a fan, even as somebody that's attempting to cover the team, what have you. That's a lot to digest. Once again, the only thing I can say is that I'm very happy that they did get Verse in the trade. If you didn't get Verse in the trade, I would really say you got fleeced. I'm still of the mind that you kind of got fleeced because you didn't get 2 first-round picks. Let's dive in and hear some other, opinions as far as what's going on. Courtesy of 92.3 The Fan, man. Shout out them guys. This is Peter Lynn, man, and my boy Nick Wilson. Let's see how they were talking and how they were moving and how they were feeling, concerning this Myles Garret issue here.
Myles Garret, in the process of being traded to the Rams for at least Garret Verse, a 2027 first-round pick. And Darrell Ryder just sent out 2 other assets in this, a 28 second-rounder and then a 2029 third-rounder. Allow me to just start this, because we all do this thing in all walks of life. Twitter has made this even more prevalent for the fan. We forego the emotion of the moment. And then we get right to, I have to be the most emotionless, I'm analytical, I have all these incredible thoughts. Let me just be very clear about the emotion of the moment. This is why sometimes it really sucks to be a Browns fan. Because more often than not, my entire life with being a Browns fan, I'm on this end of it. I'm never on the Rams end of it.
Where you acquired the super... No, OBJ.
Yeah, come on.
OBJ was acquiring a superstar.
I mean, think about it, though. In our history, we just lost Nick Chubb. Devastating knee injury. They ended up letting him go. This guy is somebody that's the face of the franchise. Baker was rocking for a while. We thought he was going to do something. We've been on the end of having Josh Gordon look like he's going to be the greatest thing ever, but then he's out of the league. So as a Browns fan, we've taken a lot of L's. And at this point, it is like, man, come on. The best player, Myles Garret out of everybody. So at a certain point as a Browns fan, yeah, there is a level of that.
The guy was a knob when we traded for him.
No, that was the excitement was crazy that day.
I did say more often than not.
Okay,
I was
all right.
not speaking in absolutes.
Because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, that was the most elation you could have. But like, yes, you're right. We are on the side typically of giving away.
But I just continue to like that. That's the emotion. There is a sadness. There is a disappointment in this that I can't shake. We can look at the trade compensation, and you're either going to think it's enough or not enough.
Most people think not enough right now.
You're going to look at moving on from Myles, and you're going to think to yourself, well, to hell with him or to hell with the Browns. But like just specific to the idea of this trade and what it symbolizes, it's another thing to be tacked on to the worst trade in NFL history, the Deshaun Watson trade. Because if that trade works out, you're not trading Myles Garret, right? It's another reminder that Andrew Bear...
Let me tell you, AB. Boy, if this don't work, AB. What I'm going to tell you, boy, you're going to be a fish fry. 350, 425. Keep rising it. 450. What we got that oil on? Because AB is finna be hot. And that's what I'm telling you. If this doesn't work out for the Browns' advantage, and let me tell you another thing. You traded Myles Garrett. Okay, that means youth movement. Boy, you better not trot out Watson. As a Cleveland Browns fan, boy, you get rid of Myles Garrett and you bring Watson out there, I don't care what he look like in camp. You better not get rid of Myles Garrett and think you going to get away with bringing Deshaun Watson in. That's out the window now. Completely out the window. Let him cook a little bit longer, but we're going to get into that.
He walked into Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett, and a butt ton of cap space. And we got one playoff win and 2 playoff appearances, and now we're back in the cycle of suck. I understand there's a lot more than that, and I promise you this is not going to be me 5 hours dumping on this trade. But I have to be honest to the emotion that I'm feeling, which is just cool.
Thinking about a degree in size.
And honestly, I think everybody's emotion is that. Like, what the hell is going on? But at the same time, like I told you, we have to decipher through this. Myles Garrett is an aging superstar. So in the spirit of fairness, when I think about the issue, I do feel like it can work out. But the thing is, it depends on how many games you're going to win this year and how the team looks. Because you're putting a lot into, this new draft class. You're stripping that defensive end away from the best player in Browns history. So now, yes, you refill that void with Jared Verse, but is that Myles Garrett? And what impact does that have, on the Browns? Because single-handedly last season, Myles Garrett won this team bare minimum 3 games just with his play alone. Is Jared Verse capable of doing that? Are the new additions that you've added, Quincy Williams, EMW, are these guys able to fill that void? Is it still going to be a top 10 defense? So these are some questions that they have to answer right now. And if the plan is to go to 27 to get a QB, well then, just say that. Because that means that effectively this year you're trying to tank. Because you're not in a win now. Are you in a win now mode? Or are you in a rebuild? And their messaging is confusing to everybody.
First side of things.
Have to be honest to the emotion that I'm feeling, which is just cool. Draft picks. Because that's what I give a rat's ass about today.
Well, Jared Verse is nice. I like the Verse side of things. I'm honestly surprised. You brought up Jared Verse last week, and in my mind, I was like, I think that might be too rich. I don't know that we're going to get someone like that in return. The other parts of this is, I think, what fans are going to rail on. I think when fans dreamed up this trade, they thought 3 first-rounders, you really start to rebuild this thing, and you go from there. The idea that it's 1 first-rounder, Jared Verse, and then a second and a third, it just doesn't seem like enough for a lot of fans.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things. I'm sure if this is all the Browns get, which is Jared Verse, a first, a second, and a third, I'm sure that the Browns spin is going to be, well, Jared Verse was a first-round pick 2 years ago, and we believe he has,
They're going to act like that's a first-round pick in general.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so
I really think
and this is what we spoke about before, and I literally just said this about 15 minutes ago. We cannot act like because Jared Verse was a first-round pick, he's had some potential, shown flashes, that's equivalent of saying, oh, yeah, they got 2 first-rounders for Myles Garrett. No, you didn't get 2 first-rounders. You got a player, a first-rounder, and some other BS picks that really aren't adding up for Myles Garrett to me. So, in one aspect of this, you can say, yes, you might have gotten fleeced. You might just have gotten fleeced. If Jared Verse does not have double-digit sacks this year, you've gotten fleeced.
really good, by the way, too. I need to just tell people out there, his advanced numbers are incredible. Top 10 pass rush rate, a PFF darling, Jared Verse.
We also get to use the word ascending right? He's an ascending player.
And he might ascend to be like a Trey Hendrickson type.
You know what the craziest thing is? He's only 5 years younger than Myles.
Yeah, this is how the NFL works. That's how that works.
Drafted 7 years after Myles, and he's 5 years
younger.
younger.
But the trade part of this that matters the most is that I think there's a lot of fans that are, at least I am, I'm thinking, all right, last year you had that report out of New England that the Patriots were going to give up 3 first-rounders for Myles Garrett. It's like, if you were going to do this the entire time, why were you so hell-bent on making sure that he stayed in a Browns uniform for last year a 5-win season?
Yeah.
You could have taken a...
Well, what it was, and we can go back to it, that was never the plan. After they gave him that big money contract, the plan was for Myles Garrett to be a career Brown. But then what happened was last season, that whole quarterback competition that Kevin Stefanski tried to have, and the season that unfolded afterwards was complete lunacy. Okay, so you think Myles Garrett was happy with how last season was? No, I guarantee he wasn't. Then you take into account, okay, you get rid of Stefanski. At this point in time, you've announced that, Jim Schwartz is in the running. And you told Myles Garrett, this is a key point people don't bring up. You told Myles Garrett that he had a portion of input as far as who the coach was going to be. You took his information as far as who he wanted to be the coach. You gave him a little bit of the input. Whether that was 10%, 15%, 2%, however much of the input that you gave him, when you tell a great player, or you tell a player in general that they have a say-so in something, and they're telling you from their perspective what's going to help the team win, you don't think that player think he knows football more than what you're talking about as far as a GM, an owner, as far as what's going to win on the field? So telling Myles Garrett that, he tells you he wants Jim Schwartz as the coach, and then you turn around and you bring in Todd Monken. He wasn't thinking about Todd Monken. He just had his best season of his career with the coach that he's built an actual relationship with in Jim Schwartz. He just campaigned for Jim Schwartz to be the head coach. You went against his wishes, and this is what you get now at this point.
Advantage of the idea last year, you trade him out, you start this rebuild. It almost seems like you're directionless the entire time, and it just feels like, all right, so now you say uncle? Now's the part where you cave into his demands? It feels like a missed opportunity. Even though we love the DPOY season, it just feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, here's the other part. Andrew Berry already in the crosshairs because of the Deshaun Watson trade, which again necessitates this trade. You screwed that up so poorly, and then you didn't hit some weird pocket of luck to find a quarterback the last 2 off seasons, that now you have to trade Myles Garrett. And I get Myles is a part of this, and we do have to talk about as well, Myles' intentions and what Myles wanted to be gone a year ago. But then to go out on March 30th and just say he is a Cleveland Brown forever.
A career Brown.
Yes.
That's the term, career Brown.
Again,
well, he was always full of it. I mean, no one can take him seriously anyway when he speaks into a microphone.
Remember, he did say, I think in that same press conference, say what you want about me, but I never lie to you guys.
He's always lied to us. That's all he's done is lie to us. That's why I tell everyone that I listen.
Well, and with that point, it's not necessarily a lie, because you have to take... Listen, Myles Garrett bears responsibility in this trade too, okay? So this is not like the Browns just said, oh, we're done with Myles Garrett and he still wanted to be here. It's not like he still wanted to be here. He had to waive that no trade clause, which Miss D alluded to. He had to lose money in doing that. He had to take a pay cut in order to do so. He waived his no trade clause in order to be able to be traded because he wanted out of Cleveland. So Myles bears some culpability. As a Browns fan, you have to take that on the head and understand that Myles wanted out of here. So with that being said, respect to him. You are our greatest defensive player. But now it's time to move forward. These boys better cook with verse. These boys had better cook with verse. This defense better not take too many steps back. I'm telling you, AB, they waiting to put, man, they waiting to hang you. Man, listen, bro. They are waiting to hang you out to dry, AB. They are waiting for the split second to be able to get you up out of town. You had better cook with what you got going on, AB. I'm trying to tell you, bro. Let's see what Earl the Pearl had to say, man. Earl the Pearl was someone that was like me in the mind of thinking that they were never going to get rid of Myles Garrett. I had prior videos stating that Myles Garrett was not going to be traded. It was crazy for anyone to even have conversations. I was getting on Lima. I was getting on Phelps. I was getting on anybody's keister. I was on keisters about anybody saying we were trading Myles Garrett, because to me, in my mind, at that time, I couldn't process getting rid of Myles Garrett. He just set the sack record. You just paid him this contract. We just diffused the trade rumors a season or two ago. So in my head, there was no way. And Earl was of the same mind. So let's see what Earl had to say and how he was feeling as far as when they got rid of Myles Garrett today.
I guess to say, man, I ain't see that one coming at all. What's up, man? It's your boy Earl of Pearl, impromptu episode of the Ultimate 216 Show. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube page. Myles Garrett was traded today to the LA Rams for a 2027 first-round pick, pass rusher Jared Verse, and other draft compensation that is still being negotiated. These reports dropped about an hour ago. Myles Garrett is officially a Cleveland Brown no more. And I didn't see this coming. Like I said, I thought that the Cleveland Browns would be better off keeping Myles Garrett, because if your goal is trying to go out here and win as many games as you can with first-year head coach Todd Monken, then you do yourself some favors by having the best non-quarterback in the entire NFL on your roster. And I'm going to be frank, I don't agree with the trade. I understand the premises of gaining draft capital. But the biggest thing is, if Myles Garrett was traded, that means he wanted to be traded. Myles Garrett has a no-trade clause in his contract. And in order for any deal to go through, he would have to waive that no-trade clause. As much as I wanted Myles Garrett to stay here, as much as I think that was the wrong move to make, I also, on the other side of that coin, don't want a player playing for any of my local teams that no longer has the desire to play here. Because when you're...
And that's a key point there. As a Browns fan, you got to take it on the chin. Now let's move forward. It's time to support Verse and support the movement. If Myles is gone, Myles is gone. We're not going to spend too much time harping on that. So you got to get through that initial emotional phase of, dang, it's Myles Garrett. We don't have Myles Garrett anymore. Okay, now let's move forward. What did T say? United as Browns. So we still going to keep rolling. But what I'll tell you, and what I'm telling you guys as far as a whole, what I'm thinking moving forward right now, okay, you got rid of Myles Garrett. We got Verse in there. Filled that void. All things being the same right now, let's just go ahead and move forward. Okay, we got Verse in there. We got picks for next year. On this offensive end now, I better not see Deshaun Watson. I was all in for the competition. I was all in for the spirit of fairness as far as we're going to let these guys compete it out. But if we're in the middle of a youth movement and we're in the middle of a let's go for 27, then don't put Deshaun Watson on my football field. Nobody wants to see Deshaun Watson out there. Okay, I'm gonna just keep it a buck and be frank with you. So all the talks about competition, who looks better, is null and void to me at this point. If y'all keep doing it and they're still, as far as splitting reps in this, no more splitting reps. We need to go with the Young Bucks. Let's see what Shador has. Either sink or swim for Shador now for this season. That's the campaign. Because no Cleveland Browns fan is going to sit by and stand with you getting rid of Myles Garrett, but then in the same breath, bringing back Deshaun Watson from the same era of football and putting him out there like he's going to be a savior, like he's going to give you anything, like he does anything for you this season. Whether Deshaun Watson plays well or doesn't play well, it does nothing for you, especially if your mind is to get a quarterback in 27. So with that being said, don't do it. There's no way, like these next couple press conferences, these next couple briefings as far as how the practices have gone, we need to see some change in this. And we need to start hearing some rumblings about Shador being the guy. Because if we're going with a youth movement, you can't half-step it. I don't want to half-step a youth movement. If you're going to go with a defensive youth movement, Denzel is supposedly on the chopping block next, then you need to go ahead and sit Deshaun Watson down. Let him get his preseason work in so he can get up out of here. Let's see what our guy G. Bush had to say about the topic, man. Bush, what you had to say, man?
breaking news, Myles Garrett is traded to the Rams. This dude is a bona fide first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to go down as one of the greatest ball players ever to play for the Cleveland Browns and put the jersey on. And it stings because I would have loved to see him retire in a Browns uniform. But let me just be honest with you guys, man. If you are going to move on from Myles Garrett, then you got to look at Denzel Ward next. If you're going to move on from Myles Garrett, then there is no reason.
I just said that. Denzel Ward is on the chopping block next. Denzel Ward hasn't been at OTAs. If you're going with a full youth movement, and I get that it's because Myles didn't want to be there now, Myles had to co-sign that. This is scary territory because for a Browns fan, you're confusing the narrative. You're confusing us as far as what is your plan. You've gotten rid of Myles Garrett, but you're going to play Deshaun Watson. You're still giving him a fair shake. Some things don't add up with that situation. And another thing that was telling, and I do got to get on Coach Monken for this, which I guess he was playing it the right way. But Coach Monken, in all fairness, I was wrong about my coverage in your press conferences. You were very avoiding with the conversations as far as with Myles Garrett. Even Coach Rudy was a little avoiding with the conversations with Myles Garrett. And in my head at the time, I was thinking that, okay, they're in lockstep. It's OTAs. Myles Garrett never comes to OTAs. So why do we need to worry about it? It's a non-story. Obviously, it was a story. Obviously, it was something that we should have been thinking about. Obviously, there was fire where that smoke was coming from. G. Bush, keep cooking.
That you should be playing Deshaun Watson. I'm going to just be honest with you. Because you just told us today it is not about what you did in the past and how great you were. You told us if you have Myles Garrett on your roster, you know what that means? Myles Garrett on your roster, you're saying you give us the best chance to win games and we trying to win games. Well, look, Myles is gone. It does you no good to be having no quarterback competition because you're looking forward, not backward. I was for the competition when it was explained that we was trying to win football games. But if we're not trying to do that?
That is a big question now. What is the mindset of the Browns? Is this season about winning games? Because you can't tell us it's about winning games when you've gotten rid of Myles Garrett. Whether he wanted to be here or not, you didn't have to trade him. So are we win now or are we rebuild? Because if we're rebuild, no more Watson. The conversations about Watson is done. Done data, over with.
If that's not what we're doing, then it makes no sense to play Deshaun Watson. It should be Shedeur Sanders in 2026 moving forward with the new Cleveland movement. If you're playing young guys, I don't want to see nobody over the age of 29, 30 years old playing. Period. Point blank. If that is what your objective is to find out and get the most out of Shedeur Sanders and evaluate your quarterback situation moving into 2027 when you have first round picks. Go with the youth movement. It's no upside of playing Deshaun Watson at this point.
This does not look like...
There you have it. It's no upside in playing Deshaun Watson at this point. And to me, why would there be? Why would there be any upside in playing Deshaun Watson right now? There is absolutely no upside in playing Deshaun Watson right now. What does he do for you? My man has 2 Achilles tears. My man has a shoulder repair. He's just coming off of the Achilles. He hasn't played in 5 seasons. He's played 19 games. Excuse me. He's played 19 games for your Cleveland Browns. And that's in 6 seasons. With a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. You're telling me you've gotten ROI on that? You've gotten return on investment with Deshaun Watson? Absolutely not. So with this being the case as far as a trade with Myles Garrett, that's a shift in the guard. We need to have a shift in the offensive mindset as well, don't we think? I would believe that it would make sense to have a shift in the offensive mindset. It makes no sense to stay with the same old guard in Deshaun Watson. What does it do for you? Nothing. Let Shedeur cook. With that being said, man, y'all let me know below. I see Miss D still in here, man. I appreciate you, Miss D, for the support. Myles is headed to play against top-tier offenses. Jared has played with an elite and disciplined team, an example, the Rams. He'll bring a lot to Cleveland. I do think Jared Verse, can bring a lot to Cleveland. I don't think he's Myles Garrett by any stretch of the imagination, and that's one thing that bugs me because I feel like in terms of draft capital, we should have garnered more for Myles Garrett. Do you guys think we should have garnered more for Myles Garrett? I mean, yes, you got Verse, and I acknowledge, and I'll continue to acknowledge that Myles, for Verse, that aspect of the trade is good because, as they alluded, yes, you did fill that hole with a quality player, not just with anybody. You filled it with a quality player. But what else did you get? A 2027 first round from the Rams, who are in win now mode. The Rams are in win now mode. If you think that's going to be a high pick, it can't be. That's never going to be a high pick. At the lowest, you're going to get the 16th pick, 17th pick. So I feel like with Verse, yeah, that's cool. Where's the rest of my money? Where the rest of it though? That's light. That's light. You can't owe me an iPhone and hand me a Z Fold. I don't care how nice the Z Fold is. I want the iPhone. You guys think they're going to bring Deshaun Watson out there? I'm telling you what, I'll lose my mind they bring Deshaun Watson out there. If they bring Deshaun Watson out there week 1, I might lose my mind. Who wants to see Deshaun Watson week 1, man? Let me know in the chat, man. Y'all want to see Deshaun Watson week 1? That is terrible work. That is terrible work. Honestly. Let's see, man. We might break a couple more reactions out, man. See what they talking about. What is nothing final? Let's see AB.
Did you lose a lot of money sports
Let's
betting?
See what AB had to say. And this is another thing. I didn't even acknowledge this yet because it was so goofy to me. Why would you come out, AB? You already know it's hotter than fish grease for you. You already know it's hotter than fish grease for you, AB. Why the hell would you come out and say, oh, nothing's final yet? What? That's the worst timing for you to say that. That's absolutely the worst timing for you to say that.
Some sound. Hold that thought. Yep. We have some Andrew Berry sound. He was talking at the golf tournament today, right?
Yes.
And
did not answer questions.
We're out there. We don't like the fact that he didn't take questions. He gave a statement. Here's Andrew Berry now on the trade of Myles Garrett. Listen.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Real quick, obviously we wanted today really to be about the Browns Foundation and everything that we're doing, the good work that we're doing there. Not naive that there's a lot in the social media sphere regarding Myles. Nothing is final at this point. We are in discussions of a potential transaction, including him. I'll have a lot more to say about it once it is final, if it does become final. And I'll discuss the details at that point. But we are in negotiations. We're hopeful that we close something here in the next several hours. But nothing's final right yet. So like I said, I'll have an update for you guys maybe as soon as tomorrow when there's.
Man, listen, bro. Don't just don't say anything at all. At that point, please, just don't say anything at all. Save yourself, bro, because you just jumped in the crosshairs even more. You literally just jumped in the crosshairs even more with that. That was wild work. Completely wild work. This dude just hopped out there right in hot water, man. That is crazy. Why would you step out and say that? Why in the world would you step out and say that? That makes no sense, man. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Let's hear from the national
Jared
guys.
Verse has sent out a thank you to the Rams fans. There it is. He sent that out. Thank you for everything, LA, in posting the NFL Instagram account. And so right now, we'll turn to Tom Pelissero on the program, but he's taking a shot right now.
Yeah, no,
It's at a golf tournament.
It's like George Bush. Rich.
George
It's
Bush.
for you right here.
Now watch this drive. Watch this drive. Here we go. Tommy P live on NFL. Where are we?
Got it. We got.
Where are we?
It was a little higher than long.
Okay.
It was. I've had better shots.
Can you take a mulligan because you're on live Rich Eisen show?
I think I've used all the mulligans that we were afforded in this scramble. We're 15 under through 17.
Oh,
Use another stroke here at the end.
Well,
this
confirms what we already knew about Tom Pelissero through his outstanding writing work. Is the best stick in his bag is his pencil. So it's very, very whippy.
People with high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes.
Who was you all, Rich Eisen, bro? That was a pause-worthy comment right there. That was out of pocket. I can't lie to you. That was definitely a little suspect of you.
Prom tournament.
I did.
Chris?
I'm also the only one. Look at these guys.
You have a pink shirt on?
I do, but
before I can get off the course. But on the team with the putting today.
Let's get to the Browns
with this massive trade that's going down. And I've got a few questions for you. How much time till we're back on the radio audience? Because I want to make sure, as you understand, Tom, I want to make sure the audience is as largest as possible. All right, so Tom Pelissero is out on the golf course. We've got about 15 seconds left. What's the name of the golf course? Your Insider, we're live. He's decided to join us kindly to give us some thoughts on the breaking news of the day right here live on the Rich Eisen Show. We're back here, all one big happy radio and TV family. For the radio audience, Tom Pelissero is in a golf cart participating in a charity event in the great state of Minnesota. All right, Tom, I give you the floor here. How long has this been in the works, this trade?
They've been talking since right after the draft, the Browns and Rams.
So, if you think about it, right after the draft, that's a key point right there. As we're breaking this down, that tells you right before the draft, prior to the draft, all that time up to the draft, that's when Monken was hired. So if they've been talking, to this point since the draft, that lets you know that this has already been in the mind. So that solidifies our thinking in that Myles was upset about the Jim Schwartz thing. Jim Schwartz not getting the role as the head coach really held some weight in Myles' mind, and that's obvious. So there's no other way to break that down. As a Browns fan, yes, you can take the trade however you want to. You can be upset. You can think you could have got more. You can think we got fleeced. Yes. But at the end of the day, Myles wanted out. And with a player of that caliber, if Myles wanted out, all you can do is tip your hat to Myles, say thank you for your service, sir. We appreciate you being a Brown for your tenure, and move forward. So we can't sit here and be stuck on Myles anymore. And I'm not going to continue to be stuck on Myles. To be honest with you, I'm glad I didn't grab my 9.5 because I was just about to grab a 9.5. In all honesty. But with the trade talk starting from the draft, once again, that just lets you know it goes all back to Jim Schwartz. This is all linked together. So, Kevin Stefanski, his regime, everything that led up to this firing of him, this was all building up a build-up for Myles wanting to get out of Cleveland. We tried to suppress it with giving him the big contract. Did it do anything? No. Obviously, it still folded in the end, and we still had to get rid of him. So this is kind of a hit for the Browns. Like I said, AB is in murky water right now. AB really is in murky water. He had kind of dug himself out of the hole with these last two draft classes. With these last two draft classes, my man AB really had dug himself up out of the hole in my mind. He was on the up and up. But with this move right here, to me, that puts a damper on things. Because all it does is bring everybody's mind a retraction straight back to the Deshaun Watson trade. The fact that you got Deshaun Watson, you gave up so much capital to get him, and then it didn't work out. It blew up in our face. And all of Cleveland had to eat that crow. So now you get rid of our Pantheon great defensive end, whether he wanted to be gone or not. But the circumstances to why he wanted to be gone had a lot to do with your doings and what you allow under the Kevin Stefanski regime. So you have to take that on the chin. With that being the case, now with this next draft class, with this next season and the draft class included that just came in, these guys better hit. There better be immediate impact, and there better be some type of spark with this Browns offense and defense now that Myles is gone. Let's let Tom continue to cook.
The Browns had, said throughout the offseason that they did not intend to trade Myles Garret, but it never sounded as firm as it was a year ago when they were flatly refusing to even engage here. So there really was not another team that emerged through the process. I would say about 72 hours ago, it seemed like this deal was going to get done. The Browns were not going to do it unless they got Jared Verse as part of the deal. He's a two-time Pro Bowler who's under team control for.
That's the one thing that AB can say right now is saving his behind with this trade, and everything that comes with it is the fact that he got Jared Verse, and Jared Verse does have the potential that he has. Once again, it bugs me that Jared Verse hasn't cracked double-digit sacks in his career, but he is a foundational young player, that you can build around and continue to bolster your defense with. He's not Myles Garret. He'll never be Myles Garret in my opinion, but that is a young piece, a cornerstone piece, somebody that you're adding to a defense that's already young. You're on a youth movement. Once again, though, that better happen on both sides of the football.
Several more years at a relatively cheap rate, which allows them to get younger at a core position, get a Pro Bowl caliber player who's not making as much money as Myles Garret. And then in addition to that, they get a 2027 first rounder, a 2028 second rounder, and a 2029 third rounder. So extra day two compensation in 28 and 29, an extra first in 2027, which you can certainly do all the math on that, Rich. A highly regarded draft, particularly for quarterbacks, and now the Browns, who are rolling into 2026 with Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, potentially are going to have the ammunition to go and get one in 2027.
The only way you're going to have the ammunition to do so is if you package those picks that you've acquired and another player and use that in order to try and move up into the draft. Once again, that Rams pick is not going to be a top 10 pick, and it's damn sure not going to be a top 5 pick. So you can get that out of your mind. So that's going to be a loss, essentially, because you're going to have to package a deal in order to move up. And with this class being as bolstered as it's supposed to be, as highly touted as it's supposed to be, if the class is that great, you don't think they're going to charge you an arm and a leg to slide your ass up to that 5th pick, that 3rd pick, that 2nd pick, whatever pick in the top 5 is going to take for you to land the QB that you want? You're going to have to pay for it. And I don't quite know if you got enough in this deal for Verse in order to be able to, exchange what we would see as a fair monetary exchange and now moving to get a quarterback. Are you going to be able to make a deal for less than what you've given up to get your quarterback in 27?
All right, and so wow, so much to hit on this front. And the Rams made this deal. I know it's a silly question, but why did they make this deal? Tom, I'll give you the floor and what I think is an obvious answer, but go for it.
They're going for it. I mean, that's it. You don't re-sign Matthew Stafford at this stage in his career. You don't, continue to approach this trading for veteran players. They use a first-round pick on Trent McDuffie, who's a veteran. They sign guys in free agency. They feel like they've got a window to capitalize on Matthew Stafford at the tail end of his career, but still very close to his prime. If you watched him last season, Myles Garret is one of the most rare difference makers in the entire NFL. You're talking about a really rocky NFC West division where you're contending with the Super Bowl champs in Seattle, obviously the 49ers as well.
You know who's thanking God right now? That boy Joe Burrow and that boy Lamar Jackson. Them boys celebrating. The whole AFC North, boy, they jumping for joy. They screaming for glee. Glee. You know how happy they are they ain't got to deal with that monster right there?
You need all the horses that you can get, and Myles Garrett's going to change the numbers for them defensively. Parting with Jared Verse is not an easy thing to do, frankly, if you think about how good of a young player he is, but there's only so many Myles Garretts walking the face of the earth. I know the Rams have been looking for pass rush help, really going back to before free agency. They end up finding it in a guy who Myles Garrett, who 15 months ago was signed to a record contract extension, and just a couple of months ago had his option bonus deferred from March to September, which seemed like a tell, even though it wasn't, necessarily, they didn't necessarily need to do that, but it does make things a little bit easier here now because it's going to be the Rams, not the Browns, paying that bonus.
So what are the cap ramifications here for both teams? best you can tell.
This will become official after 4 p.m. Eastern time today, which means that it mitigates the cap hit for the Browns. They'll push some out into 2027. For the Rams, it's just taking on Myles Garrett's base salary for right now. He's due about, I think, $31 million this season in terms of the option bonus and the salary. They can do a conversion on that.
I mean, with those numbers, it sounds like you got fleeced. It sounds like you got fleeced. I can't lie to you. With that, it sounds like you have gotten fleeced, honestly. That is terrible work. That is nasty work. Let's see what Tony Grossi had to say, man. Our boy, Tony. You know we love Tony G around here, man. That guy, Mr. Grossi. See how he finna cook with this one today. What you guys think Tony got to say? You think Tony got something interesting to say, or he got some BS?
We are back with a brand new episode of the Daily Grossi. It is Monday, June 1st, and Tony, it has happened. Myles Garrett has been traded. I want to give you props before anything, because when they made that contract, when Field Yates broke that story on March 26th, Tony, of the contract adjustment, you dug in and said, hey, this is a mechanism to trade Myles Garrett. People yelled at everything. Tony, they finally did it the first day that they really could. What are your...
I was one of the people that was yelling right at you. I was yelling at you. Oh, catfish face. I was yelling at you for sure. I was upset. You know why? Because I thought it was BS. I thought it was lunacy. And here on live, I have to admit, I was dead wrong. Completely wrong. I had the complete wrong read on the Myles Garrett situation. And something you got to take on the chin to acknowledge it. Excuse me. I'm man enough to say I was dead wrong.
Reactions, what are your thoughts? We're going to go through everything.
Well, I think it's exciting because I do think that the purpose of the trade is to get to a franchise quarterback. Now, there's a risk involved, right? If you're going to...
And you see, that's the narrative that keeps coming back with this trade. This trade is to get to a franchise quarterback. This trade is to get to a franchise quarterback. So is this a tank move? Are we tanking? Let's be real here. If this move is to get to a franchise quarterback, then what are we doing for this season? Is this season discounted? We might as well fast forward this season then, right? What are we cheering on the team for in 26 for? If this move is to get to a franchise quarterback, then damn winning now. Damn 26. Are we serious? You for real, man? Now, this comes to question, and this raises my eyebrows in the situation with AB and Jimmy Haslam. Your messaging has been win now, win now, win now. Monken's messaging has been win, win. How do you eliminate the questions? You win. But this isn't a win now move from the Browns. So you're telling us one thing is win now, win now, win now. But then we're back to the let's accumulate as much draft capital as we can. And we're back to the find a quarterback in 27 narrative. Which one is it? And I'll tell you, once again, and I'll continue to say it, if you trot Watson out there, after getting rid of Myles Garrett, the city will flip over. Browns fans will be disgusted. You will have heat across America from Browns fans. Browns fans are going to pop out of the cut from Utah, Missouri, places you've never heard of, South Dakota. Browns fans is going to pop out and let you know how upset they are.
Draft one next year, you better be right. But in my opinion, and I've said this a lot, you trade Myles Garrett. Would you trade him even up for the best pick in next year's draft? Yes. Or one of the top 5 quarterbacks? Absolutely. Now they have to parlay these assets, and we still don't know the complete trade. They have to parlay these assets into a franchise quarterback. And, you know, it's easier said than done because the Rams pick in 2027 could be number 32. They're going to the Super Bowl probably after this trade. So Andrew Berry is going to have to be creative.
Think about that. And we talked about that at the beginning of the video. The Rams pick that you acquired is basically a high-end second-round pick. Worst come to worst, the Rams are going to the playoffs. You're going to be picking in the 20s. And the conversation of we've added Verse, so that's just like adding a first-round pick, it's not. You can't use. I don't want to hear that argument. That's not valid to me. We got Verse. There should have been some more compensation here.
At least he's got now an extra chip in next year's draft, and I believe there will be other chips involved in this trade that have yet to be announced.
All right, so Tony, right now it's Jared Verse and a 2027 first-round pick. That's what we know. Let's stick with the Verse part of this. Do you think it was important that the Browns had to get an edge rusher back in this deal?
Absolutely. That's one reason this morning on RBS,
if you didn't get that in this deal, you would have been in hot water.
Skeptical that a trade was going to happen today because they did nothing in the draft to find a young defensive end. They did nothing really in free agency to find a defensive end. So Verse was an important component of this trade, obviously. He's still under his rookie contract. He's a rising pass rusher. I don't know what kind of attitude he's going to come in with, leaving a Super Bowl contender for the Browns, but he was absolutely an essential component of this trade.
So Tony, what makes they were so adamant last year, the Browns were, Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, everybody last year when Myles requested a trade. Now, what do you think changed? Because obviously
I'll tell you what changed. Jim Schwartz didn't get the job. Jim Schwartz didn't get the job. From that point forward, Myles was cooked as far as with the Browns. It was over with. Mentally, he was done. Because you told him he had input. He gave you his input on who he wanted to be the coach. You went against his wishes. He was fried from there. You already had him. You had him irritated 2 years ago. A year and a half ago, whatever you want to call it. He came out at the Super Bowl and said he was done. He wanted to get out of Cleveland. He wanted to get on a winner. You paid him that money, and in hopes we were going to start moving towards winning. Last year went how it went. I can guarantee you Myles Garret was not happy with how last year went. Last year was terrible with the fake quarterback competition. Joe Flacco, then you trade Joe Flacco to the Bengals. That's just a whole cluster, you know what. So then you take into account you didn't hire who the man wanted for the coach. Yeah, he was cooked. So now let's move forward.
March 26th, when they did the contract adjustment, that's when it changed. Yep. What changed over the year?
I think a couple things. I don't think Myles ever changed his attitude that he wanted out. After taking the big contract last year, it was almost like a 1 year to hush money. All right, stop talking about it. We'll work on it in the future. This year, he took obviously the opposite tack. Never said anything publicly about wanting out, but I think he went about it the right way this year in asking for a trade.
Charmaine say the Browns going brown. I mean, you never know. Once again, like I said, as a Browns fan, you have to be upset at first, but then you have to take into account and look and see it's done, it's over with. Myles was the proprietor in this trade. This trade does not happen without Myles Garret. So, with that being said, you have to take that on the chin as a Browns fan. He wanted out. Now let's move forward with Verse. Honestly, I feel like we should have gotten more compensation, yes. But the whole Myles thing, we can be as hurt as we want to. They messed it up. And they messed it up by keeping Stefanski an extra year.
Behind the scenes. The other thing that happened was the Browns were unable to get their franchise quarterback in the 2026 draft, right? Or the 2025 draft, for that matter.
Seeing if you're
Well, you did have him, and I think you still potentially have him. But the thing is, you wanted to play around with Joe Flacco. You wanted to play around with Dylan Gabriel, who's 5'2". You wanted to play around with Kenny Pickett,
so they had to do something.
You wanted to play with Kenny Pickett, who got hands the size of my infant son. Wouldn't that piss you off as a player that's trying to win, trying to get to the Super Bowl, trying to get to the next level of your career, you just set the sack record. Think about it. You set the sack record, and your team didn't even make the playoffs. You set the sack record, and your team didn't sniff the playoffs. You weren't in the hunt. You weren't close to making the playoffs. You have the best season of your life, and the team does nothing. Who wouldn't be pissed off with that? So at the same time, you have to give the Browns and Andrew Berry, Jimmy Haslam, and I'll go back to Kevin Stefanski's regime, a lot of the credit for why Myles doesn't want to be here. Why Myles has a sour taste in his mouth when it comes to the Browns. It's obvious.
Assets to get that quarterback. And the third thing was, obviously, Micah Parsons traded, the New Orleans, the Raiders, Max Crosby. You know, the market was set for him for 2 number ones, although that trade collapsed. So I think the Browns realized that we're going nowhere with Myles Garrett. He's getting older, and his demand to be traded really never quieted it.
Do you think, again, March 26th was a big inflection point because of the contract, but they kept denying it. As we got closer here, clearly conversations, and Andrew Berry spoke at the golf outing, which you just left. We're going to get to Monken's comments, and said, hey, stuff still has to be finalized. Tony, this technically can't be finalized till 4.
Which was stupid for him to say. That was complete. Why would you even come out in the midst of everything going on social media? You got Schefter breaking it down. You got everybody going live talking about this trade. And in the middle of that was like one of the stupidest. For you to be, didn't bro go to Harvard? Something like that. He went to one of those Ivy League schools. For you to be Ivy League educated, that was one dumbass thing to do. Come out and say, oh, everything hasn't been finalized. So what are you trying to do? Throw some more confusion into the situation? That was just goofy, AB. And I rock with you a lot. And I rock with you about these last 2 draft classes, to be honest with you. I think you have a good mind when it comes to being a GM. But I'll tell you, for you to come out at that moment and say it hasn't been finalized, it's still in the works yet, after everybody has already blown the coverage up, that was asinine. That was goofball, goober behavior from you, AB. And I got to call you out on it. That was terrible. Just shut up. Go back to the golf outing and continue doing what you're doing. You didn't even answer questions from the press. So what was the point of going to the press to make a statement and say it was still in the works? That's goofy, bro. That's honestly goofy, AB.
One today. But do you think, was there a Myles Garrett trade request behind the scenes? Did Myles Garrett say, I'm not showing up to anything, mandatory minicamp, training camp? What do you think transpired behind the scenes? Because based on what Monken said today, it didn't seem like they thought Myles Garrett was going to show up at mandatory minicamp next week.
Right. Well, today I asked Monken, have you been
We watched and we broke down Monken's press conference earlier. And when we watched that, there were key signs not only in the press conference today, but in the prior press conference that I personally ignored. The level of dismissiveness, yeah, there was something going on there. Now, as far as what was happening with that, that's up for them to be able to, tell us what was really going on. But it didn't matter. If they were in trade talks since the draft, whether it was obvious that was going to get done then. Myles wasn't coming. That was null and void.
Assured that Myles will be here June 9th. And he said, I haven't been assured of anything. And that, to me, was the red flag that this thing could be happening today. He actually went on to say, I was never even assured that he'd be on the roster this year. And yet, remember that introductory press conference when the question was posed about Jim Schwartz leaving, and Todd Monken said, well, I didn't take this job because of Jim Schwartz. I took it because of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and the players. So something happened definitely to change everything. And I do believe it goes back to March.
So, Tony, I'm seeing reports.
Obviously, it does go back. It goes back to them hiring Monken. Myles was never a fan of them hiring Monken. He was never down with that ordeal. He was never going to get down with the get down, man. And it was never something that was on his agenda. They asked him what he thought. He told them Jim Schwartz. Let's hear what Coach Riz has to say, and we'll go ahead and get up out of here, maybe. We might rock with y'all a little bit longer. We're going to see what Coach Riz has to say, though, for sure. I like Coach Riz's opinions because Coach Riz generally, he might not say what you want to hear, but it's fair and unbiased.
And in Cleveland.com. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Oh, just a little case of the Myles Garrett trade blues here. I want to know, you were staunchly anti-trading Myles before the trade. Now that you see what they got, did it change your mind?
Oh, absolutely not. It absolutely did not change my mind whatsoever. I've always been a believer in players win football games and really good football players. And, the idea that, they didn't win with Myles here.
Run it back. Please, I need to hear that again.
The fan in Cleveland.com. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, what's going on?
Oh, just a little case of the Myles Garrett trade blues here. I want to know, you were staunchly anti-trading Myles before.
For the record, a lot of people were staunchly against trading Myles. I was completely against trading Myles. Earl the Pearl was completely against trading Myles. Let's see what he has to say.
For the trade, now that you see what they got, did it change your mind?
Oh, absolutely not. It absolutely did not change my mind whatsoever. I've always been a believer in players win football games and really good football players. And, the idea that, they didn't win with Myles here, that really does nothing for me. The idea that you're going to, now you're not as good as the defense. And that's the reality of it. So, no, I'm not on board. I'm never on board getting rid of really good players. Really good coaches are made by really good players. Obviously, at some point in time, I always feel like you got to draw a line in the sand, and winning's got to be the most important thing, not draft capital and all the words and things I don't really understand, nor do I want to. I know that one thing means something. You got to win games, and winning's got to be the most important thing.
And that's a football guy's take. And that's how all true football fans feel in this moment. So, yes, we do have to look forward. The trade is done. But as a football fan, yes, this has nothing to do with winning. If you're the Browns, this is ludicrous. This is ridiculous. And for all the people that say, well, you didn't win anything when you had Myles Garrett single-handedly won us at least 3 games last year. How many 5-sack performances did he have? How many 3+ sack performances did he have? That's single-handedly putting dubs on your record. And as Coach Riz just alluded to, players win games. Not the coaches, not future draft picks, not future quarterbacks in 27. If we're talking about 2026, what does this do for me now? It makes my defense worse. That's what it does for me now. Keep cooking, man. Boy, I'm getting hot. Keep cooking, Coach Riz. He doing the ticket right now.
And when it's not, you see it. You can see certain things I don't really understand, nor do I want to. I know that one thing means something. You got to win games, and winning's got to be the most important thing. And when it's not, you see it. You can see it in front of you. And as a coach, it's not real enjoyable to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, as a coach, take us into that idea that if you're Monken, you are a worse team today than you were yesterday. That's not even debatable. What does that do for you in trying to win year one?
Well, it comes down to alignment for me, JP. So are they aligned from top to bottom? Was he on board with this? Was this something they talked about early on when they were having these discussions?
It's obvious that from the press conference we watched earlier, Coach Monken wasn't aligned with this. To me, it doesn't seem like he was aligned to this. Go to his introductory press conference, and Tony Grossi spoke on this in this video that we watched probably about 2 minutes ago. In his introductory press conference, what did he say? I didn't come here for Jim Schwartz. I came here for Myles Garrett. When I was scheming up my offenses, I wasn't worried about Jim Schwartz. I was worried about sliding protections to 9-5. I was worried about chipping 9-5. I was worried about adjustments to make sure 9-5 didn't ruin my game plan. So to then come and say now that he knew coming into this Myles Garrett was going to be gone, nah, I think that's false. And it would be disingenuous for me to say that.
Discussions when he was being interviewed for the job, the idea of the rebuilding, which I never really understood. Rebuilding, it should always be a retool. You should never rebuild, especially at the NFL level. It's only 53-man rosters. You got to be able to go out and get good people. So now you're telling Todd Monken you're going to have to be really good on offense, much better on offense than you've been, which you think they will be. But these are young guys, and they got to go out and prove themselves. You either have a quarterback that's coming back from multiple injuries or a young guy in his second year who's going to have his ups and downs. You have a tailback coming off, a serious leg injury, even though he's looked great. But you've said, I'm going to take away your best player. I've never believed in trading down. I'll never believe in getting rid of good players. Those are the guys that win you games. Now, like I said, when winning is the most important thing, I think things kind of equal themselves out. But we talk about what picks they're going to get and stuff like that. It's like the cat.
And that's what the whole thing is. Are we talking about winning, or are we talking about collecting as many draft picks in the hopes that maybe we can trade up and get Arch Manning or one of these Dante Moore, one of these quarterbacks that's unproven, haven't been good last year, that we're going to hope is magically the franchise guy this year? So this is a collection of draft picks, and if you want to be one of those guys that, oh man, the capital and what we can do in the 27 draft, you be that guy. You be one of those fans. But as a football guy myself, somebody that loves the game, has played the game, and understands what it's like to be on the field, man, you want the best out there. You don't want to lose a star player. You don't want to lose somebody you've had cohesive relationships with in the sense of on the field as a player. We're not talking coaches, front office, none of that jazz. We're talking about strictly on the field. And in terms of winning, this is not a good move.
Cavs, right? The Cavs went all in with LeBron. They won the ring. Then they were terrible for a while. The Browns didn't do that, and I just don't understand if it's like throwing in the towel. I don't believe so. I think Jared Verse, I'm watching film on him right now. He's a really good football player, but you got rid of a really, really generational guy, and I'm not sure, what it looks like going forward, and what is, Todd Monken's future. You just said we're taking away your best player. Now you got to go win games. I'm not a real big fan of that.
So I know this is early because you're just watching tape on Jared Verse right now. Analytics says this kid can be elite or has played at an elite level. What does the tape say to you?
Jameson. The tape says to me that he's not Myles Garret. Yes, you filled the void in the trade, and that's one thing that you can say is at the minimum respectable about the trade, is the fact that you did not leave a void as far as we got rid of Myles Garret and now we have nothing else. That's the only thing that you can say that's respectable about the trade at this point. But as far as in terms of winning right now, what that does for your franchise, you're not better. You're not better. And it puts pressure on your coach as well.
Says this kid can be elite or has played at an elite level. What does the tape say to you?
Well, he's a pressure guy. So usually with a pressure guy, if you look at Myles like early in his career where it almost looks like he gets there, he has a ton of those. So for me, I like pressures more than I like sacks. And he had a ton of them last year, 70-plus pressures. And he's a guy that really gets that. He plays with a great motor, and he's a really good player. And that would be my other thing, is not comparing him and Myles, because there's no one that's going to be Myles. Myles is arguably the best end ever, or one of them. But Jared Verse is a young kid. He has a great motor. He plays extremely hard. He plays the run very well for a young guy, especially a young guy that has kind of focused on his pass rush game. Now, I will say this. He doesn't have many tools in his box just yet. He's a guy that's won to this point with pure athleticism and bend. Obviously, he doesn't have quite the speed Myles does. That's what made Myles so special. But he's a guy, he's going to have to learn a couple more moves. A couple counter moves to people when the good tackles get out to him. But yeah, he's a guy that had a ton of pressures, and everything he's done has been very raw. Like, I'm a really good athlete. You go back to like Alex Wright a couple of years ago. So the window, like I said, it's not really about Jared Verse for me. I think he's an outstanding player. It's the idea that you got, if you say who's going to be better next year, Myles is going to be better next year. And if I'm a coach, I want the better player. And that's really what it comes down to. But this is a kid who has a lot of, he's long, he plays long. He's got, like I said, he's going to have to improve his pass rush game plan as he gets older and people watch.
So all that tells me, folks, he's not Myles Garret. I don't know. As I'm thinking about it, I'm still in the debate mode. I'm still in the thought process mode. I'm still in the mode of thinking, how does this affect the Browns now? It raises a lot of questions to me now, because with this being what looks like, once again, we've said it before, a youth movement on the defense, you have to take this to the offensive side of the ball as well. You cannot half-step a youth movement, in my opinion. So there's no way that you trot Deshaun Watson out there. I mean, just think about what you're doing to the psyche to a Browns fan. As a Browns fan, think about it. There's not very many Browns fans that are in the mind of they want to see Watson on the field again. We'll just be honest. I've been trying to be a fair arbiter in the sense of he has looked decent, but he's always looked decent in OTAs. But in reality, 90% of Browns fans are over the Watson experience. They would rather see Shedeur this year. So that needs to be the move. If we're talking about, acquiring picks and all of these other different things, I'm done with Watson. That's my premise of it. It's over with. You've gotten rid of the greatest defensive player in Browns history. Well, it's time to go ahead and clear house with all the old then. Get rid of everything old. I don't want anything old on the team. Nobody. I'm not worried about Batonio. See ya. I'm not worried about anybody that was here before. Denzel, man, your time might be slow. We love you, the Warden, but your time might be slow as well, bro. I don't know. You guys let me know below. What do the Browns do moving forward? Was this a good trade? Did they get fleeced? Did the Browns get fleeced for Myles Garrett in this trade? We'll take a quick look at it real quick. This is what they got. Garret Verse, 2027 first round pick, 28 second round pick, 29 third round pick. You let me know. Did the Browns get fleeced? What are they going to do at the quarterback position moving forward? What's to do? Let me know below.
Off the smoke muscle, while I'm always gonna shine off the damn hustle. It's the shit that's designed to keep my mind right. Knowing smoke, you gon' pop when the time's right. Let them